Let's move on to another story that you wrote for Raw Story. This one, another kind of, very much in the terms of kind of rape culture on college campuses, and something that happened at Virginia Wesleyan College, and it's really. If you haven't heard the story, people, it's frightening and infuriating. What happened at Virginia Wesleyan?
So the student, correct me if I'm getting any of the facts wrong, but the student in question said that another student raped her, and he was held somewhat accountable for it. There was a disciplinary proceeding, so I think that there's a record of some amount of guilt admitted to, or at least discovered, right?
Right.
And I think that's the important thing to remember in this. She's suing the school for failing to take enough safety precautions to keep her safe. And, of course, when you're suing, you have to prove damages. So the damages her lawyer brought up were emotional distress, et cetera, et cetera. And in order to disprove that she suffered damages from being sexually assaulted, the school is demanded that she list her sexual history so they can interview guys she's had sex with to find out if she's as if she was as virginal as she claimed prior to the rape, and as if she was unable to function sexually as she's claiming in the lawsuit for damages. They're trying to reduce the damages by saying, she's all right.
Wow.
Now this is troubling because, lawyers are going to try to reduce damages. I don't think that's the issue here. The issue is that they're leaning really heavily on rape myths in order to do so.
Yeah.
And one myth is that it's reducing women's sexual selves to just how well they function for men as sex objects, right?
Right.
So, if you're saying, okay, so a rape victim says, I'm having sexual problems because of this rape. To my mind, that says, I'm having internal struggles that are making sex less pleasurable for me than it should be. I'm having emotional struggles. Everything's in here. But so what purpose is there in interviewing her partners except they go, well, she was there. I got off. What's the problem? It's recentering, our understanding of these things around men's and how useful women are to men as opposed to, the actual damage done to women by sexual assault.
Hey, you assess how damaged she is. You who had sex with her once. What how damaged did she seem to you? That is disgusting.
It is disgusting, yeah. And obviously, I to be clear, I don't know that the guy that they're reaching out to is going to play along with this.
Right.
But that's clearly that's clearly what they're shooting for. And also, this is also just a larger attempt to scare women out of pursuing justice after sexual assault by saying that they're going to be publicly humiliated by having their sex lives sort of dragged out into the light, which happens almost every time. And this was just a particularly straightforward and egregious example of it. But, bigger picture here, too, that happens almost every time. That New Hampshire prep school case.
Yeah.
The victim... the alleged victim, 16 years old, think about that for a minute, dragged up into the witness stand and asked all these incredibly personal questions about her body, her sex life, her attitudes about sex, her reactions to being a sexual encounter that even the defense had to admit was kind of,
Yeah.
And she handled it about as bravely as I think you can, but it's worth remembering, just try to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's been sexually assaulted, and they know for a fact that this is what is coming for them. This is why we have low reporting of rape, because a lot of women are raped, and while they would like justice, they would also not like that to have to be their life for the next. And I can promise you that, like, if you sue for rape, it's at least the next year and often longer.
Right. Before I let you go, I want to hit one more story, which is, again, oddly connected. It's another university in Virginia. It's Old Dominion, and a frat there hung, on the opening week of school, hung up some signs from their frat. That one of them was, "Hope your baby girl is ready for a good time." "Freshman daughter drop-off" was another. And just how unbelievably, again, that is the culture that this is all happening in, right? This is the reality where this frat feels comfortable enough to put that type of thing out there. And that is the society we live in, where it's women are there for men's use, and again, let's talk about that a little bit, and rape culture that goes on all over college campuses.
Yeah, what's frustrated me is I've seen a lot of the media coverage of this played off like the problem is that these fraternities and sororities are putting raunchy signs in their yard. Mm-hmm. And we can debate the tastefulness of that. I would rather not, because I don't care.
Right.
The question is not whether or not you have some stupid sign that says "we have lots of sex here in our house," right?
Yeah.
Go for it. Be young. The question here is that these particular fraternities are hanging out signs that are overtly predatory, like really obnoxiously predatory. They portray female students as having zero agency. They address their fathers, not the girls.
Right.
They treat it like daddy has to sort of keep you on lockup, and the second that daddy is not watching you anymore, it's like game on, which is very rapey.
Yeah.
And it basically treats female bodies as male property. And I've seen some people confused as to how that is rapey, and I think that should be fairly obvious. If the notion is that the only thing standing between you and penetrating a woman of your choice is her father and not her opinion,
right?
That's rapey.
Yeah.
Like, women are people.
Yeah.
And, I love sex jokes. I have a raunchy sense of humor. Obviously, I've probably made a bunch of sex jokes on this show. But, sex jokes are sex jokes. These are rape jokes.
Yeah.
And we should have a very strong distinction between the two. The good news is, while I did see some media not knowing the difference, even Fox News,
wow,
had women on it being like, this is going beyond just a dumb sex joke. This is mean.
Right.
And I think, I think to my mind, the critical thing is that we should just collectively make that distinction, because so often what you get in response is, "Oh, the PC police are just out trying to ruin our fun." Well, no. I mean, rape isn't fun.
No.
Like, for the victim, sex is fun. So, like, as long as we can kind of remind people of that, that makes that line very difficult to trot out, I think.